high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hi everyone, this is Mary McCusker, your co-host for Talking Catholic, and I'm here, as always, with Mike Walsh. Mike, how are you doing today?
You know, I don't know how to feel about the as always thing, because I feel like at some point, I'm going to shake off this mortal coil at some point. I hope the podcast continues. So,
well, I am always with you, so I feel like I have to introduce you appropriately.
Once again, I'm here again with Mike.
I sound less enthusiastic as time goes on, I'll say that, but...
Well, you do. Yeah, you are. You did say it was right before we started that you are fighting through the mother of all allergy attacks right now.
Yes. So if I sound nasally, I apologize to our poor listeners. And if you have allergies, I feel your pain. I'm there with you. But
I feel you because I'm in the same boat. I almost never have to take Benadryl or anything like that. But for whatever, this week has just hit me left and right, and I've been popping them all week long.
It's that kind of week.
Yeah. And then, of course, I got my second shot this week. So,
I witnessed Mike Walsh on a pew, keeled over at one point from the joint pain.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I got my second Moderna shot, and I recovered in no time. But for about 24 hours, it turned my arthritis up to 11, and I was just like, oh man. But then as soon as I popped a couple of ibuprofen, boom, right back to normal. So
and we got some good blackmail pictures.
Yes.
So it all worked out.
We were live. If you guys haven't had an opportunity yet, we were live streaming every month. We do an organ recital from the Immaculate Conception Cathedral in Camden that has a 100-year-old pipe organ that was recently refurbished, and now sounds and looks spectacular. So as part of, we really wanted to sort of bring it to everybody. And since, we're still sort of in COVID times, we've been live streaming it. But we're actually looking to have next month, we're going to have a bell choir be a part of the performance. So it's every second or third Wednesday every month. And this past week, you can find the video for it on all of our Facebook and YouTube pages. Just go to Camden Diocese, either one of those, and you'll find the replay for it. But it was the performance was actually dedicated. Since it happened on the anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, it was all music from that time period, and it was really good. It was really, really, truly enjoyable.
Now I'm curious. I got to check it out.
Yeah, actually, our Vicar General was saying that he was listening to it during the performance, and the music was really great, and I agree. But however, it is true that in the middle of it, I did have to lay down at one point because my joints were killing me. But you know what? I came to work even though I was still working, so I was putting out a paper and doing the live stream, and
I called out the day after I got my second shot. So,
and I also went to softball practice later that afternoon too, because I took
look at you.
Look at me, still a young man at heart. So we have a very special episode this week because it's the one that actually scares me to death.
I've never heard that come out of your mouth before.
This is what.
Why are you scared?
Well, I don't know. We're somewhere in the 230 range of podcast episodes, and the people we've always had on have always been good, salt of the earth, spiritual, generous, wonderful human beings, so kind and concerned about others. And now we have these two on, and I have no idea what's going to happen. We don't usually have a lot of our own staff, So this is actually a podcast fully encompassing the members of the communication staff for the Diocese of Camden, you and I, and then we've invited two of our friends from the Catholic Star Herald, our award-winning diocesan newspaper, the official diocesan newspaper, Catholic newspaper of South Jersey. And when I invite my own staff on, I realize there'll be no respect for me. Nobody's gonna look out for my best interest in this podcast. They're gonna say something to try and get me fired. I understand that. I've accepted that.
The guests are nodding, mind you. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We went from Melissa Herska from Catholic Charities.
You want to try again?
Heriska.
There you go.
I mispronounced her name. It's beautiful, heart-tugging podcast about the charitable work that she does. Now we're switching to the cutthroat, brutal world of advertising. And now I'm kind of scared too. But our guests today, welcome Neal Cullen and Paul Worthington.
Hello.
Why don't we start with Neal? Can you introduce yourself and your title?
My name is Neal Cullen. I am the Director of Advertising for the Catholic Star Herald.
All right. And Paul?
I'm Paul Worthington. I'm the account sales manager with the Star Herald as well, and I've been with this job for 14 years now.
That's
this
right.
week.
Oh,
really?
Happy anniversary. Good
How
job.
timely. Congratulations, Paul.
And Neal, how long have you been with it?
Gift.
I get this every now and then.
Oh, I'm going into my third year. I'm the rookie out of the entire group.
That's right.
So I'm the baby.
Yeah,
Yes.
our managing editor has been there. Hey, according to Paycor, he's been our pay apparatus. He's been there for more than 37 years.
37 years.
Yes, and for anyone who's noticed, if you are a regular reader of the Catholic Star Herald, you've seen that there's recently been a posting for a new managing editor. He, God bless him, he is going to come on a future podcast, whether he likes it or not. He's not the kind of guy who enjoys talking for a living, but I'm going to have him on the podcast mostly so that every time he talks, Mary will cry. Because,
I'm about to choke up right now just thinking about it.
Because he has, in fact, announced his retirement. So we're in the looks for we're looking around for a new managing editor. But Carl has been the heart and soul of the paper since 1989. He joined the paper, and he's been phenomenal in that time. As a matter of fact, I was still just a high school Catholic boy reading the paper, and I
wasn't even born yet. I win.
That's right. That's right. But I was reading about Carl Peters, so I just wanted to sort of make that announcement now publicly, now that it's out, that Carl has retired. We love him. We can't wait to have his retirement party, because we know that he's a good beer drinker, so we'll have a couple of good beers with him. But I want to anyone who's concerned about it, who knows what a great writer Carl is as well, he is staying on and will be continuing to write as he sees fits as a semi-regular. Yeah, thank God for that indeed, because if you've never read the columns of Carl Peters, they are always
best
out
of the best.
They really are, because he does a great job of, and we'll talk about this on a later podcast, he does a great job of tying in things that you wouldn't necessarily think would have a connection to Catholicism, and he finds those connections, and he writes about them. And tying it back to our guests, he makes the lives a little easier for our ad guys because he creates great content.
To step in here for a little bit, I know we're teasing Mary about her getting upset about Carl leaving, but we work so closely together for so many hours during the day and during the week that we almost become like a family. I am the baby here, but yet I've been taken in and I feel like I'm part of the family, and this is a major milestone for the Catholic Star Herald.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Carl has been with us for so long. He's put such a major footprint on the paper, and to make this change, it's a big time for us.
Yeah,
it's a big time for us, and one that we're looking forward to. We're sad that he's leaving, but looking forward to a new person coming in and introducing a new member to our family, and
you won't be the baby anymore.
I won't be the baby anymore.
That's why he's excited.
I'm so excited.
You can tell he, has that selling shtick going, because he's really convincing.
I can now say, I'm no longer the baby.
So let's talk a little bit about the newspaper and what you guys do for it. We've brought up the Star Herald on the podcast from time to time, but you want to give us sort of, Neal, a rundown of what the newspaper is, who it goes to, how often we put it out, things like that.
Okay, so start with some little history about the paper. So the first issue of the Catholic Star Herald was dated May 11th, 1951, while Pope Pius XII was Pope. So Harry S. Truman was the president, and CBS was working on a new show called I Love Lucy.
Wow.
And I know a lot of people will say, who is I Love Lucy? But for you that know who I Love Lucy is, brings back some memories.
Yeah.
We were the first diocesan newspaper in New Jersey.
That's right.
We were named the Star Herald in honor of Mary, Our Lady Star of the Sea. A little fun fact there. So right now, the paper goes to 44,000 households.
Yeah. That
equates to about 105,000 readers.
And that's just the print paper, right?
That is the print paper, yeah. And so anybody that doesn't know the details about the Diocese of Camden, so that's all 6 counties in southern New Jersey. So 44,000 households across all of the counties of southern New Jersey. So that's where we publish right now and send out to right now. What's the other question?
Well, and then how often do we publish?
36 times a year we publish.
Yeah.
So basically, if you want every other week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a little bit better than that. So we'll go maybe 3-4 weeks in a row, and then there'll be a break and there. And then in the summertime, we are every other week to kind of give our staff a little time to breathe a little bit in the summertime. But and then September comes around, we go 7 weeks straight, and we're all like, oh man, who put this schedule together?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness!
I still don't know who puts it together.
He's
but
sitting
I
to
have
your
words.
left if you're wondering.
Oh, Neal, it's you. Oh,
actually, it's a collaboration between everybody. So Paul and I'll sit down. No, not you. You're Mr. Walsh.
That's true. I sign off on it every
day. Ignores it and then signs it.
Yeah, it's a scary time, September. Got to find that content. Yeah. Well, Neal, while we're still with you, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do, maybe a day or week in the life of Neal Cullen?
Day and week of life of Neal Cullen, pertaining to the Star Herald, right? Yeah. You don't want to know anything about Neal Cullen.
Yes, the Star Herald.
No, that would be scary. Okay, so my main job is to. And I don't really like talking about me because Paul and I are really a very close team. Mm-hmm. When I came in, Paul's very warm and welcoming, and we actually created a very close relationship pretty quickly. And we work very closely together. We get a lot done for two people. So my basic job as a director of advertising is one, setting our goals of where we need to be on a financial base, a sales basis. Tracking our progress towards that goal, coming up with special initiatives to reach that goal, and then along with that, also jumping in, helping out with sales motivation. And that's basically my job in a nutshell. And there aren't enough hours in a day to do that. There aren't.
And Paul, sort of to bring you in here, so you've been doing this for a long time now. In terms of the advertising and stuff, like where are you usually going out to? Like, who are you trying to encourage to advertise?
Well, Neal and I will have some strategic planning, and we'll want to hit certain things at certain times of the year or with certain issues coming up. So in July, we'll have our retirement estate planning. So we're looking at nursing homes, financial and elder care, elder abuse lawyers, things of that sort. Later in the year, we do Catholic schools, back to school. So it depends on what time of the year we're working with. And we'll plan that out. Sometimes we'll go out together, and Neal is like a brother from another mother. I've only said that about one other guy. So it's really enjoyable to work with him. It was great to have him come in, and he picked up a lot of that, like the in-the-weeds stuff very quickly, that you wouldn't normally know if you're outside the newspapers.
Which is something that's particularly unique about Neal. So Neal and I go back a few years. I actually want to talk about our mutual connection at some point. We met each other through the Knights of Columbus, our local council. Right, yep. But before we get into that, however, so Neal and I have known each other a while, and I've known him as a consummate foodie. I've been fortunate as a foodie myself.
Always bringing food into our podcast.
I know. I've somehow,
every single time.
Well, so I somehow inadvertently sort of attract food people to me, and Neal is the king of the food people because Neal's unique, I think, in newspaper advertising in the sense that until he came here, he never sold it before, which is a daunting task. Because I actually tried in my very beginning of my journalism career, I was able to coerce an editor to hire me with the promise that I would sell advertising as well. I sold one ad. It cost $25, and that was it. I went out on ad buys, but I was no good at it.
Yeah, I feel like it's either love it and it's right up your alley and you live and breathe ads, or you just don't have that.
That's right.
Don't have that. Apparently you don't
do not
either.
have it. I am not a natural salesperson. Neal Cullen is a natural salesperson.
And Paul too.
The reason Neal in particular was because I actually I asked him, and I didn't pull him out, I encouraged him to leave a different sales job and come work for me. What were you doing for many, many years prior to that, Neal?
I sold food.
That's right.
Yes,
okay.
For food distributors.
Yeah.
So mine is one of an interesting story. Would you like me to go?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to me, people say, why are you working at Catholic Star Herald with ad sales? And to me, this was a life-changing event for me. This job literally saved my life. So what had happened is I was immediately diagnosed with a brain aneurysm in March 17th of 2017. And during that time, I was working as a food district manager for a food sales company, and I was putting in 70 to 100 hours a week. I was working really long hours, but I enjoyed it. I love food. I love sales. It was like a great job for me.
Yeah.
But when I received that diagnosis, I had immediate brain surgery, and I was out of work for 3 months, and I went right back into work. But I told myself that I'll give myself 1 year. 1 year to see if I go back to being the same Neal, working 100 hours a week, missing out on my family, vacations, you name it, birthdays. And exactly 1 year later, the opportunity of the Catholic Star Herald came up.
Wow.
And I interviewed, and I was offered the position, and it literally saved my life.
Yeah.
It saved my life.
When you said literally before, I was thinking, now how could that be? But now I see your point.
Did.
Wow.
Because it created stability in not only my professional career, but my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me time to heal.
And hopefully you're not doing 100 hours. Mike's not forcing you.
I'd like him to do it. No.
79.5.
That's right. Just under.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that always amazed me. So here, Neal and I know each other personally, and I'm seeing this guy. First of all, in addition to being a food salesperson, he's an outstanding chef. I encourage everyone to ask him to make a brisket whenever you get a chance, because the man knows how to slow cook meat. Let me just tell you that right now. And he's a consummate host too. If you ever get invited to his house, don't eat before you get there.
Food brings everybody together.
It's absolutely true.
We break bread. Think about it.
That's true.
The great irony of this is, and I don't want to give out too much information, but he's had a few in the times we've known each other, he's had a few unfortunate things. He fell off a roof at one point.
Oh, boy.
You know how we joke about your 9 lives, Mary?
I don't want to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, you're jinxing everybody right
Neal
now.
Cullen also has 9 lives. He falls off a roof before he has the brain aneurysm. Wakes up on his own, because I don't think anybody found you, right? You kind of got up, right?
A contracting crew that was working on a house across the street saw me fall off the roof.
Okay.
Oh my
and they were the
gosh.
ones that came over.
But what happened because of that? What did you lose?
I lost my sense of taste and smell.
That's right. Which you do not currently have fully back yet, right?
I will never get, because of the brain surgery, I'll never get my sense of taste and smell back, ever.
And yet, he's Captain Food.
Yes.
Think about that little gift of the Magi right there.
Because when you lose a sense, the other sense is heightened.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, I really enjoy textures. I enjoy acidity. I enjoy heat. I have no sense of taste, but I get the other. My other senses pick up. So that's how I enjoy it.
And I remember talking to you about this when I had COVID, no sense of taste or smell, trying to eat something and just that weird feeling. I think it was like a banana and it's mush. You don't know what it is. So I said, well, great. Now I can just eat healthy food all the time, cheap food, healthy food. But then I started missing, the good stuff. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so here's this great irony, but so, I had known Neal for a little while, and I didn't offer him the job at a charity. I was quite selfish about it. I knew how great a salesperson he was, but part of my pitch was, and because this job kind of saved my life too, because I was the kind of guy, much like Neal, I was working long hours, late at night working for law firms.
Yep, I remember that.
Mary certainly knows this as well, because I worked with her father for a little while.
Yeah.
And all the hours he would put in. And that's not to say that coming to the diocese, suddenly you get great work-life balance, but...
I was going to say, Mike, you're still working.
I know, I still
a bunch of workaholics here.
Yeah, but now I'm doing it with joy in my life, and I'm doing it with, I won't claim that this job is saving my soul, but there is something to be said for working on the side of the angels, as opposed to working for corporate attorneys.
So coming and working, we have a mission.
Right.
We have a purpose. The Catholic Star Herald is here to educate the parishioners of the Diocese of Camden of Catholic news.
Yeah.
Our job as ad sales reps are to support that financially.
Yeah.
So every day I come into work, I park my car, I get out of my car, I look up at the cathedral, and there's a cross on the cathedral, and I say a prayer as I walk in the door every single day because I'm blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I am blessed to have this job because I know that what I do has a higher purpose.
Yeah.
It does.
And and I see that.
Yeah.
You know, so I would love to see 44,000 more subscribers in the Diocese of Camden call up and say, "Hey, I want to subscribe to the newspaper."
Yeah.
You know, because it has good content, has good advertisers.
And content that you're not going to find anywhere else. Not even watching EWTN, not even listening to Catholic radio. I mean, you're going to get great content from those places, but it's not going to be the same kind of content that you would find in your newspaper that's going to be talking about your specific parish, your specific area, your specific schools, the ministries that are serving your communities, the work that's being done at Catholic charities in those communities all throughout South Jersey. That's why when people talk about, newspapers are going under and stuff like that. Well, certainly major daily newspapers are definitely having their issues. But papers like us, any kind of publication like us that's a weekly, semi-weekly, even a monthly publication, really are finding ways of bringing that content that you will not find anyplace else to you in a way that's done professionally with quality photographs, quality writing, great advertising for local businesses because we do have 44,000 readers who are reading that. And that doesn't include, Neal, our online digital content as well.
Does not.
You want to talk a little bit about the website?
So we redesigned the website now about 2 years ago, went to a more news format with the website, more graphic orientated, video orientated. So there's a lot of good video on there. There's a lot of good graphics on there, along with awesome articles. It's updated quite frequently with new articles. Pete, one of our writers, does a good job at updating the website and our social media. So definitely go out and check the Catholic Star Herald Facebook page and the CatholicStarHerald.org. Our advertisers are on there also too, so you can enjoy some of our advertisers. But again, it's content for not only, we have international news on there, we have national news on there, but you have your local news on there. For example, we have a Knights of Columbus page where we let councils post what special programs, the special events that they've done. We also have links to Catholic charities. We have links to the school department, to the Camden Diocese website. So if you wanted to find and educate yourself about all what's going on in the Diocese of Camden, go to CatholicStarHerald.org, scroll down to the bottom, and there's links to all the other websites there. So it's just a good source for anybody that really, really wants to know what's going on in their diocese.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I should point out that the Talking Catholic podcast and the Talking Catholic YouTube shows are all under the parent company of the Catholic Star Herald. So we are, in fact, an extension of the Catholic Star Herald.
Yep.
Well, just like the Star Herald crew works together as a family, really so do all the offices in the diocese. We all really do interact pretty closely.
Yeah. Now, Paul, in the many years you've been here, you I think the three of us combined haven't been here as long as you have. Have you seen any of the sort of like the changes that have gone on in the diocese related to the newspaper and website and social media and all that stuff?
Well, the social media, definitely, because it wasn't here 20 years ago.
Yeah, well.
It wasn't here when I first started. I started in 98 in accounting and then left after 5 years and came back 4 years after that. So that's when I came back in 07. But I've seen the paper actually grew rather large from about 27,000 to about 72. And it has slowly crept down to where it's a stable number, about 44,000, which is nice to see. I'd love to get it to above a benchmark of 50. And I'm sure Neal would too, because anything above 50 looks nice. Anything above 55 looks even nicer.
And that was intentional, actually. That drop was intentional because about 8-10 years ago, when I I guess even longer than that now, maybe 11, 12 years ago, when the Diocese of Camden started its merger process. Part of the problem had been that we had become quite bloated. There were quite literally too many parishes for the area that we needed to exist in, and the paper had the same issue. It had become bloated as well, and we were trying to figure. This predates me. This actually predates my predecessor. It was actually his predecessor that came up with this determination for how to make sure that we were able to create a newspaper that could meet the needs of the parishes by continuing to get content out there. And what we realized was there's actually a formula for that, where we can it goes into some detail, but the basically it is each parish pays for a 30% of its congregation to receive the newspaper, either in the mail or it's left for them at the end of Mass so they can go out and pick it up on the way out. And that ended up, I mean, you were here at this time, that ended up being the salvation of the paper.
It was. We dealt with the Cathedral Foundation down in Baltimore. That gave us a suggestion, and they helped us out with the pricing as well. So the two went hand in hand, both advertising and raising the subscription base. And it has come down. We still kept the same formula. We're about 30%, 32% of church attendance and a few other dynamics that go into that number, whether it's House of Charity givers, Catholic school
CCD.
Kids, as well as CCD is the biggest constituent component of that. So that's how we got that number to grow up to about 72,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we put a lot of wisdom behind that. Even when the, just a little bit of inside baseball, but for our listeners, when the pandemic hit, we were all kind of, like everyone else, we was all sort of caught off guard. We were trying to figure things out. And we immediately went into conservative mode. So we shrunk our paper a little bit, made sure our ad rep, you guys did, I still haven't quite figured out how you do it, except for the fact that I know you and you're both natural born salespeople. You were able to keep our sales numbers stable through the entire time. And we actually learned that reducing our copy size was actually working against us a little bit, because it was raising our ad rate. Percentage rather. It was raising our ad percentage. It was actually costing us more on the mailing. And so a big shout out to Cindy Soper, who's our business manager for the diocese, who picked up on that very early on and said, hey, you guys aren't being as financially, and this is me, she was talking to me, shrinking our page size was actually hurting us a little bit. So we actually went up a little bit and realized we were getting a better mailing return on our investment for that.
But now, think about this, okay? You're in sales. Your whole mission is to reach out to companies and try and get them to tell their story, and then put that in an ad, and then put it in our papers so that our subscribers can utilize their product. Okay, so the first day of the whole pandemic, we start working from home, and I go to pick up the phone, and I say to myself, who am I calling?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
That must have been nerve-wracking.
There's nobody there.
Yeah.
There's nobody to call. And really, that's when teamwork and Paul and I just putting our heads together and coming up with different concepts on how to generate revenue was the only thing that really kept us going, because there was nobody there.
Yeah.
Right.
They were all closed. And we even went into mode how to thank our current. We've had advertisers that have been with us. John Pajalis has been with us for 40 years.
Wow.
And we've had several others that have been with us. Morris Graphics has been with us for a long time. Little shout out to those guys. But how do we thank them for being dedicated to us by still advertising? So we created a special page on our website just for our advertisers, or any of our advertisers really. Now it's turned into, we created a page on our website where they could have a free post, and it's staying on there permanently just for our advertisers to thank them. Because people will, our concept was, our thought process was, is that people are going to remember us by how we treated them during this pandemic.
Right.
And if we treated them horribly, they'll remember us like that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to treat all our advertisers with the most utmost respect and gratitude, and thanking them for sticking with us and supporting us. And not only that, our subscribers did too. We have the best readers in the world. They really do stick by our advertisers.
Yeah.
You know, a little shout out to all our subscribers. Thank you very much for utilizing and all of our, because they wouldn't advertise with us if you guys didn't use them. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's really the showcase. That's another showcase of the importance of the Star Herald, particularly to business people. That because our content is so unique, the people who are reading it really want to read it, and they read it cover to cover. I know, even though I'm the my wife used to really love the paper before I became the associate publisher. Now she's just like, I know what he put in. It's always the same thing. It's like she used to love. I mean, she was the biggest advocate. And I was like, my husband puts that together. But even that, I mean, as soon as it arrives on Friday, she has gone through every single page. She always looks for priest transfers first, even though I keep telling her those don't happen until June anymore, because they used to be rolling. They used to be throughout the year. Like, honey, that only comes out in June. Don't worry about it. And she's like, well, you never know. I was like, you're not wrong. So she flips through it, sees all the stuff. She sees a picture by me because I'll take some of the photos. Man, that page turns fast.
Oh,
man,
no.
how does she know that fast? But she loves the paper, and she even though she may have hostility towards the associate publisher, she'll always make sure to read it. And my mother-in-law is perhaps our greatest reader. She is a former employee of the diocese. She was assistant superintendent of schools when the first person who noticed the ad about Carl leaving was my mother-in-law, and she buttonholed me as soon as I came in for Easter dinner. She's like, tell me about Carl. What's going on? Is he okay? Is he healthy? I'm like, yes, he's just retiring.
Oh my gosh.
His time is due. It's fine. But anyway, so yeah, we really do have passionate readers who will stay with us forever.
Fun
And I'll
fact.
say that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just want to share this. I don't think I've told any of you this before, but I have a friend who lives in the diocese. For the whole time I've known him, he always said, I'm atheist, didn't have any religious affiliation, and was pretty strong about that. But I got a text from him one day. He had moved into a new apartment, and it was a picture of the Catholic Star Herald, and it happened to be one of the few times one of my pictures made it to the front page. And he sent that to me. I said, oh my gosh. And he said, wait, you write for the church? And, we start arguing about religion. I tell him to back off, leave me alone. Well, he actually 1 year later subscribed to it when the subscription did end for the people who were formerly there. And he said, I'm sorry for what I said to you when I first saw this, because honestly, this past year, I have been reading the stuff in the paper, and it did change his mind a lot about our faith and about the paper in general, and just seeing a lot of the content. I don't know if he's Catholic now, but
Hey, listen,
it had that impact. So,
our job is getting the message out there. Whether it's the ad department, the editorial department, the business department, it is our job to bring the message, and it's up to the reader as to how they react to it. Certainly, we've gotten, I've gotten some hate letters from time to time who don't like our content, but just as much some from. Anyway, we won't go into that. But then I get letters, people, and I hear stories like that.
Yeah.
People are really touched by it. And you know what? We don't have, and this is something I've been, since I came on board 5 years ago, I was very strict about this. That paper goes right down the middle. We are to serve all audiences, much like the Catholic Church. We are to serve all audiences. Whether people think that or not is a different story, but we are to serve all audience. So, I make sure there's conservative content. I make sure that there's progressive content. I make sure that there's Catholic content, because that is our number one thing. I shouldn't say content, I should say perspective. Our content is Catholic oriented, and regardless of your feelings about the Catholic Church, stuff like whatever we put in there is the truth that we see the Catholic Church proclaiming, and that's our way of communicating it to you. So love us or hate us, that's our goal. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I just realized that we hadn't asked Paul how he ended up here working for all these years, so I wanted to dive back into that.
Well, we did kind of blow right past the fact that he started in accounting.
Yes. Can you tell us about your journey here, Paul, and what it's been like?
Sure. I did start in accounting here in 98. Hired as the diocesan accountant. I stayed for 5 years, bought a farm up in Massachusetts. I was up there for about 4 years. And I was laid off my job in credit and collections, and that's a whole other story. few fun things, and I can get into that later. But I got a call from Andy Walton's secretary, who said we have a position open down here. And I'd been going through a divorce at the time, and I got custody of my 3 young sons, and we were moving back to New Jersey, and it fell into place in about 3 weeks, which was total blessing, serendipity.
Yeah.
Andy Walton was Andy Walton is perhaps the greatest communications director of all time, and he's someone who I followed back in the early days while I was going through school, public relations school, when I was in my master's program, that I really tried to really focus on what he was doing, because he was here during the great merger. The first mergers actually that took place, mergers are now fairly synonymous with the Catholic Church, but at the time when the Camden Diocese did it, we were amongst the first of any diocese anywhere in the world to be doing mergers, and nobody was prepared for it. Andy was the one who really was handling the public relations related to that. And that is this. I've had to deal with my own hot button issues in the time I've been here.
Yes, you have.
But in conversations, in conversations that I've had with Andy, I think whatever I've had to go through, it was 4 times worse for him, because every parish was affected, every community was upset, everyone really felt like this was a personal attack on themselves. Andy Walton is the king of all public relations people.
And he's the one who hired you, Paul? Is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he was the communications director at the time.
So what's it been like? I know you said social media and kind of the digital boom that happened was one big thing, but is there any other changes or?
No, I'm really big on numbers, and Neal can attest to that. That I can look at something and say, okay, that's going to be about 50% of the page, or sales have dropped 3% in the last issue. Numbers fall into my head pretty easily, and I think I can compliment Neal with what he knows on the sales side, with maybe more financial technical, which makes us a great pairing for that.
Yeah, that is the key. Is like you really can't have one without the other. You need to. It's true though.
I keep thinking like Tweedledee and Tweedledum from what's it? Alice in Wonderland.
Listeners, make sure that sticks.
But I feel like that's like an insult. But that's what I mean. You guys are like attached at the hip.
I'm gonna need you to tell that to John Kalitz, our graphic designer, and I expect some sort of artwork related to these guys as Tweedledee and Tweedledum before next week.
And I want to ask this too. I'll start with you, Paul. What's your favorite part of the job, and what's the most challenging part?
The favorite part is all the people, especially in the Star Herald, and especially my boss, Neal.
You don't have to say it.
I know I don't have to say it. I want to say it.
I owe him another lunch.
No, I'm free to walk into his office anytime. He'll come into my office anytime. Half of it's a bull session, the other half's a planning session. It makes the day go by faster. And just like I can walk into Neal's office, I can walk into Carl's office. I can go to my graphics guy, Tom, and explain something to him, or have him explain something back to me, so when I go back to the customer, they know exactly what they need to give me, or they let us have carte blanche to create their ad. And usually first time out, back to them, what Tom has done has been what they really wanted.
Right, right.
Yeah, our graphic designer, Tom O'Shea, does a phenomenal job. Yeah.
And what's the most challenging part?
The challenging part is not getting discouraged. A lot of no's.
Yeah.
You got 150 no's to every 1 or 2 yeses. The 2 yeses, make up for it. It's like the attaboys. You get 100 attaboys, and you get 1 oh heck. That oh heck makes you feel so bad.
Right.
See, that would crush me. How do you keep going? I mean, you must be an optimist then.
I am. I got lessons from my mom and dad. The big lesson from my mom was don't hold a grudge.
That's good. That's really good.
It's because the grudge is always something behind you.
Right.
And if you're looking forward, you don't worry about what happened. All the shortcomings or pitfalls you had, you can't change what happened. You can only change what you're going to do.
That's true.
That's a great way of looking at it.
That's good advice.
That is. I've never followed it, but that's great advice. That's really good.
Hold a grudge, Mike.
I hold all the grudges. I'm angry.
And Neal, for you, what's the most challenging part and favorite?
Okay, so My most challenging part probably changed when COVID hit. I love people. I love being out on the street. I love meeting new people. I love talking to new people because that's what salespeople do.
Right.
We like people. We like solving problems. But right now, you go out there, there's nobody there.
Right.
And the people that are there are struggling. And so it's different today. So challenges, that's a challenge.
Yeah, sure.
And expand on what Paul said. The second challenge is rejection. So a good analogy I use all the time is, say you're a little kid, okay, and your mom brings you to the candy store every day, and you ask her for a piece of candy every day, and every day she says no. Okay, but every day you keep asking and asking and asking and asking. And then that one day, she says yes. That's sales.
Yeah.
You got to keep asking and following up and staying determined. And if you're the type of person, when you wake up in the morning and you look out that window and you say, it's another day, you're not going to do well in sales.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to look out that window and say, thank God.
Yeah.
It's another day, and I'm going to conquer today. That's how you deal with sales.
Yeah.
And a lot
must
of people
have thick skin too.
No, well, it's not about thick skin. It's really if you're not good at sales, is because you're not listening.
Yeah.
You got to be able to listen to that
Makes sense,
person.
sure.
And fill the need.
In your line of work, no isn't really no.
No is not no.
It's just
we don't
no.
ever want to
I
take
mean,
that soundbite out
right,
of context.
I realize in many respects that clip does not work, but in this respect it does, because no isn't no, because no is a hurdle to get past, right?
So we love no's.
Yeah.
We want to know, because a no is a reaction. Okay, and then you can ask an open-ended question back and try and dig a little bit more. Okay, well, tell me why. Is it was something I didn't cover? Am I not filling the need that we talked about? What is it that you're saying no? What is it that you don't like?
Right.
And you get them talking more. And because honestly, if we create an ad and it's the wrong ad and it doesn't work, it doesn't help us or our customer.
Yeah.
So it's got to be the right ad, and the best way to do that is to tell that customer story to our readers in that ad, so they can make the decision to use that product as a customer. So we have to find out everything about that client, and the best way to do that is to get a million no's. That way we can always ask more questions.
Yeah. So it's the non-respondents that are the biggest hurdle to overcome.
Actually, the biggest hurdle clients are the ones, maybe next week.
Oh, I think I might be one of them.
Yeah, you know what? Everything sounds good. Call me up next month.
Yeah.
And then you keep going and going. I honestly sometimes would rather the no.
Yeah.
I just don't have the money.
I enjoy saying no to you all the time.
All the time.
I am definitely the 100 no's and 2 yeses. But he's very happy when I give him a yes.
Yeah. It reminds me of kind of like the world of grant writing, too. Like sometimes I end up doing that, and it's rejection after rejection, and it's crushing. But then you get one, and
Just makes your week.
It's great, but sometimes it's not exactly what you were looking for, or it's only a small portion, and I think to myself, I can't do that. I couldn't handle it. And in ads, I would be broken.
Well, remember, we have a higher mission.
You really have to have all those qualities.
Okay, so
we have a higher mission here.
We've kind of danced around this a couple of times now. So I want to talk about your spirituality a little bit, both of you.
That's a good idea.
So I alluded to this earlier in the conversation that Neal and I know each other from the Knights of Columbus. I should also note that Neal has been my Grand Knight now for 3 years?
3
4
years.
3 years? 3 years. I was his deputy Grand Knight for a number of years until I was usually you're supposed to get the job after that. I was never really around because I got kind of busy, so I was happy to take I moved out of the officer world, and now we have a great deputy Grand Knight now, Ed Walsh. But let me talk to you a little bit about your spirituality, because I know in our own council in the last year, you and some of the other guys have done a great job of sort of really bringing back the spirituality to the nature of the Knights. And I know you have a particularly strong connection to the Knights of Columbus. You've actually gone out of your way more than any more than any newspaper, I think, in the diocese. Mm-hmm. We've really done a great job of working with Knights. You want to talk a little bit about how the Knights have sort of impacted your spirituality and how you sort of brought that into work a little bit?
So, God has blessed me with so much of my life. And I've always wanted to give back, but I just never knew how. Mm-hmm. I never had a vehicle on how to give back. Now to preface that too, I went to St. Bridget's School. I was raised a Catholic. I've been a parishioner of St. Bridget's since I was a child. And so when Ray and Jim restarted Assumption 3397, the Knights of Columbus Council in St. Bridget's, and we talked, I'm like, this is what I was looking for. Yeah. This was a tool. This was a group of guys that wanted to give back. That they were all blessed in different ways, but we were all blessed. Mm-hmm. Our council's small, but we're strong. And during my time spending a lot of time with many Catholic gentlemen from across the state, because I go to state meetings, I'm pretty active with the Knights of Columbus, go to chapter meetings, I meet gentlemen from all over, all walks of life, and our faith inside of us drives us. Mm-hmm. You know, it's one of those things that if you're a Catholic gentleman and you want to find an organization that is not only well organized, has goals, gives you the tools to reach your goals, the Knights of Columbus is where to go. Yeah. They really are. And I find as a Grand Knight, my biggest job this year was not only to grow our spiritual strength as a council, but grow our relationship with our pastor. Mm-hmm. As our pastor's father, John Rossi, he's new, and we feel that as our job as Knights of Columbus, we're there to support our pastor. Anything that Father Rossi needs, we're there for him. So that was our second biggest goal this year. And we've really gone and we've done a great job in building that relationship and supporting Father Rossi. Yeah.
And I have to credit you guys for the support of Catholic Charities you've done and the other food pantries through the Faithful Food Drive. That's where I first met Neal years ago. You mentioned well organized. I remember a group of, I guess, your council pulled up. The bags were already weighed. The flyers were in the bags. Mm-hmm. They carried them right to the proper station. I didn't have to yell at anybody. And I remember looking at the other volunteers saying, who the heck are those guys and how do we get in touch with them? And the joy that you guys all had, coming there with a lot of food that you collected and dropped off, that was my first impression. So I got to give a shout out there too.
Yeah, it's, not only that, the food drive, we love the food drive every year, trying to get as much food as possible because, well, food is near and dear to me. I mean, you feed your soul, and there's so much. If we had a pizza here in front of us today, we'd be eating and chatting and doing, it's just food brings everybody together. But we also, we love to feed the homeless. That's one of our big, we have a food blitz program where we go right into the city of Camden and deliver 100 meals right to the homeless. We go right on the street and deliver food to the homeless. So that's just one of the ways that one of the programs that we have as a council. And then I thought coming into the Catholic Star Herald, it would be great because they are one of the world's largest Catholic organizations. That it would be great to educate the parishioners of the Diocese of Camden of all the good works that go on. We are a very humble group, the Knights of Columbus. We are very humble. We really don't go to the top of the mountain and yell and scream about all the good works that we do. So I thought, let's do this. Everybody, let's tell the parishioners what we do. Let's educate them on what we do. And so that's really been a mission of mine, is, again, educating the people of the Diocese of Camden what the Knights of Columbus are and what they do.
Yeah, Neal does a great job. We were actually, I must say, that even though none of us do this for the pats on the back, I will say that our own state leadership of the Knights of Columbus is routinely giving Neal a great deal of credit for all the great work he does and making sure to promote the Knights. And this year has been difficult on the Knights too, because the Knights, I would say, there's a great spiritual nature to the Knights of Columbus. However, we're also definitely people of action. So we like events. We like to work with our hands, and COVID times has been very difficult for that too. We haven't been able to run events. We you couldn't have great gatherings of people to do projects around the fundraisers, things like that. So hopefully, with everything coming down in the next couple of weeks, months, we'll be able to get back out there again and be strong and bring more people together and encourage more people to come and join the Knights as well. So I don't want to do it as a service to Paul. Paul, sort of like your spiritual nature. I know Neal's very tied into the Knights. How do you kind of like...
Well, I'm one of 11 kids, and parents brought us up in the faith pretty strongly. All my sisters and brothers, we all still go to church every week. I don't consider myself spiritual, though, but... whenever I'm alone, walking across the street, out in the yard, cutting trees, doing whatever, I just have a conversation with God. I don't make any these and thous and those and whatever else. It's just, it's like talking to a friend. And if I've got troubles, I try to lay them at his feet, because some things I won't be able to handle. But when I'm done, there's such a level of peace that you can't describe unless you've done it. So
sure.
Put your full trust and faith in God.
I try.
Put everything on his desk, and he'll handle it for you.
These are conversations that I think are, number one, great to hear guys having, just normal, typical guys like we are, and in the sense that I don't think you hear that a lot. I think it's nice to work at a place where we can bring our spirituality in and have these conversations. I think it's great that that the work that we do here, what I try to explain to people all the time is, working at the diocese isn't about us. We create all of this content, we create all of these relationships, we have all of these connections to the outside world because we're trying to bring the faith outward. I think a lot of times dioceses get a bad rap as like they're trying to suck everything in, but it's actually the exact opposite. If it's well run, it's the exact opposite. You're actually trying to push all that stuff out so that the people could be a part of it. And we've had, Don, Ottavio, and Britt on a lot, and we talk about missionary discipleship and reaching you're trying to get out to the peripheries. It's where we want to maintain our relationships with our good parishioners, but we also want to grow the church and bring people to it. And, I don't think people would necessarily think of a couple of ad guys as being integral to that, but they are as integral to that as the priests and the sisters and the lay ministers. These are our representatives to the business world who are showcasing the Catholic faith and its vibrancy and the effect it has and the importance it has in people's lives, day-to-day people's lives, whether they're going to Mass every day or whether they're Christmas and Easter Catholics or whatever they are, or lapsed Catholics or atheists, as we found earlier today. You never know where these relationships are going to take you. And I think Neal and Paul are excellent examples of how much more there is to what we do than just selling ads, writing press releases, working on the website, creating podcasts.
And how much a difference it makes when what you're selling or advertising is something you really genuinely care about. I think that makes a huge difference, just hearing your enthusiasm and passion about this.
It's really irritating because I mostly like to bedevil these two.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say something just feels very wrong right now. And it's
I know. I feel like I'm closer and connected to them, and I respect them more. I don't feel good about any of this stuff going on right now.
Mike, there's always tomorrow.
I know. Well, no. Give me 15 minutes. I'll be over it. But no, you're right. So, listeners, I hope that if you've never read our newspaper or never gone to our website, I encourage you to check it out, CatholicStarHerald.org, or check We have a number of opportunities for how to subscribe on our website. You can learn how to subscribe. Not everything that's in the paper makes it on the website, so by all means, check out the paper itself as well. And guys, thank you very much for all the great work you do, and we really appreciate it. And Mary, thank you for jumping on board and setting this up. And to our listeners, thank you very much for joining us this week, and we'll have another rip-roaring episode for you next week. Thanks, everybody.